Okay, so with the Warframe Isleweaver update, we got 6 new Accolade Glyphs. Previously, we covered the Accolade Glyphs that came with 1999 and how you could get them via its special boss fight. And this time, this update also came with an updated Vor boss fight. And today I'm going to show you how to access this and how to efficiently get all of these glyphs with a strategy that is very similar to the previous one. But admittedly, I personally found this boss fight a bit of a pain in the arse. My first like 6 or 7 attempts, which I was doing with Chroma, adopting borderline the exact same strategy as my previous guide, didn't go well. I got folded, and to be honest, there's really only like one mod that I changed in my builds that made this easier, so we're going to cover that and how it all works right now. So in order to get each one of these glyphs, you will need the warframes that are in said glyphs, so that includes Chroma, Limbo, Citrine, Atlas, Cora, and Hildren. You need to be on Mercury Steel Path and go to the boss fight node in which Vor is at. And although you're meant to go around in this mission in your operator to find the glyphs for the hack terminal, you don't need to do this because it's the same exact sequence on the terminal each time, which I'll leave a screenshot on screen for you right here. Just screenshot this or keep it up on your monitor, whatever. This is the exact same code every time for the terminal. Before you go through the doors to the objective of the boss fight, don't go through and instead go to the left hand side of this railing, drop down the left side of the railing, turn around and then enter the code. This is what you have to do in order to activate said boss fight. If you want any 6 of the glyphs, you have to be playing one of these 6 warframes. Obviously, you'll get the correlating glyph depending on the frame that you're playing. So the Chroma one will give you the Chroma glyph, vice versa. Now, I want to make this a disclaimer. This boss fight is actually quite excessive in terms of how much damage he does. This is definitely up there in the level of Warframe where it's one of the more tricky things to do in the game. Warframe is not exactly a difficult game, but what I'm saying is this is what I would consider endgame content similar to level cap, in the sense that if you're going to do this and get these glyphs, if you're a newer player, you aren't going to be doing this and you're going to need very specific items to make this easier. I just want to temper your expectations because I did this with probably the most excessive version of the loadout that I could do. I'm talking the best weapons, the best mods, blah blah blah. Just want to say that before you're coming here and assuming that this is some sort of easy boss fight you can get these glyphs for. There's a reason why this is some sort of secret within the game and not marketed towards every player. The first 2 bars of his health will take place in this initial room, where once you take out his first health bar, he'll spawn in a few Xmas enemies which are pretty damn tanky. Take out those, take out his second health bar, he'll be teleporting around, he's a little bit annoying. And once you get onto the second part of his health, you're going to go through this tunnel where these lasers are coming at you and you have to either jump or slide over them. This takes a little bit of practice, it can be annoying, I failed this many times. And from my experience, the bigger of the Warframe hitbox you're playing, the more annoying this is. Getting through these lasers with Hildren, Cora and Atlas was actually more difficult because you get caught in areas that you wouldn't even think you were touching the lasers, but you're thicker. So once you get through the lasers, you're going to be in this big arena, very similar to Kayla de Thames boss fight. These platforms will go up and down. This also has a different phase. Now, a crucial tip in order to surviving this stage is when Vor is doing his little charge up attack where this yellow orb is forming above his head, shoot out those orbs. If you don't, they'll start heat seeking you around. You can also shoot them when they're following you. Just make sure you shoot these and it will make the boss fight a lot easier. Stay active, keep sweating your ass off and moving from platform to platform. Once you take out the first health bar of his second half, you have to shoot these turrets that spawn on either side of the wall. The best way to avoid the damage of the turrets is to sit in the middle platform and move in a circle. Slowly moving in a circle will allow you to dodge most of these projectiles. Once taking out those, you can then move on to his final health bar, which you're basically just repeating the same process that you were previously. Aiming for his head, line him up, keep moving, using rolling guard. Of course, we'll address the builds in a second. And keep shooting out those orbs when he activates them. So that's what the boss fight process looks like. Here's how we tackle him when it comes to builds. The builds are borderline identical to the previous Accolade glyph setup, except this time, when I was doing this with just a shield gate setup, so I'm talking rolling guard, brief respite, then the shield regen mods such as fortitude, fast deflection, vigilante, sometimes even redirection. And then in order to make all of that work, you have to include arcane aegis. I don't want to know how difficult this is without arcane aegis, but I imagine it's not very fun. It might be doable, so that's worth a try. When I used this setup against the tank boss fight, it was relatively easy. But going into my first attempt with Chroma with all of these mods, I died so many times and I felt like I was just getting repeatedly shit on and shot through my shield gate and my shield regen. I don't have any footage of it because I was getting pissed. I almost gave up and didn't want to make this video. I was like, what the hell is going on? Took a break, came back, and then looked at the build again and thought, okay, what can I change? It turns out that throwing on adaptation makes this way easier. Considering how much damage Vor does in this fight, you wouldn't expect that having a bit of damage reduction on your already supposedly unkillable shield setup would actually make a difference, but it does. So my verdict is, if you're going to go with the shield regen setup with all of this and rolling guard, you don't really need prime redirection or any redirection for this. Adaptation is a mod that I would consider to make a big difference in how easy this is. If you don't know what's going on here, you're constantly regenning your shield because of the increase in speed and reduction in delay, using rolling guard for windows when your shield does break and your arcane aegis has not procced, so that way you get iframes, and then casting any of your abilities to proc that recharge again via brief respite. Stay active, stay on the move with parkour. The adaptation is going to help you a lot. And to be honest, everything else doesn't really matter. I was using Energy Nexus a lot because you're not going to be gaining a lot of orbs from this boss fight because there's only one segment where enemies spawn in, which is in the first. So my builds across the board for the Warframes are all the same, and this is what they look like. And yeah, I really wasn't using too many abilities. I did a subsume here and there. I believe I did the regular base kit for both Atlas, Hildren, Cora also using her mark with her pet, so that way your Venari actually does a bit of damage to Vor. No subsume needed there. Subsumes aren't necessary for this, but if you're having a bit of trouble, maybe using something like Dispensary or Eclipse for damage reduction will make it a little bit easier. But I was mostly using my abilities just to shield gate when necessary anyway. Next up, we of course need to talk weapons. To put it simply, you should just pick your best Incarnate weapon. The reason why Incarnate weapons are so important for this is not just because of the amount of damage they do, it's for that ammo. I tried doing this with the Kuva Nukor, which is one of the best secondaries in the game, and I just ran out of bullets. But when using any Incarnate weapon that's very strong, you can constantly pick the Incarnate form and then you'll never use actual ammo out of that mode. The great primary options would be something like a Bursten Prime, a Boar Prime, a Torrid of course. All of these weapons with their Incarnate form, just pick your best Incarnate weapon. And for what I was pretty much one trick in the whole time, it was obviously the Dual Toxicist Incarnate, which in my opinion is the best Incarnate weapon in the game. It's so strong, but you don't need this weapon specifically in order to do this, just pick your highest damage Incarnate weapon. And a little tip when it comes to building, because you're not constantly killing NPC enemies around, there's only one stage where the Eczema spawn in, it means you're not always going to be able to proc certain mods that require enemy kills. So try to pick mods and arcanes that don't require you to kill enemies in order to proc them. As for a melee, I wasn't using it too much, but just bring a glaive. It's nice to be able to hit an enemy from distance with a melee, especially in that second stage where Vor is teleporting everywhere. So maybe a Zorus or a glaive prime, a Pathicist. You can get by without it, but it's nice to be able to have some range on your melee slot. As for companions, you don't really need a specific sentinel. What I personally recommend is just modding your sentinel for a bit of shield regen, because if you give it some shield regen mods like Guardian or shield recharge, it's going to help with your shield regen overall and make the build way easier. And then you can just mod the weapon that it has for priming. Not really too important, the thing probably will die. And then finally, something else to make this way easier is Vazarin. The first ability of Vazarin will help with your shield recharge even further whenever you cast it, and this actually recharges quite quick as well. So you can activate this Vazarin ability like every 10 to 20 seconds. Not super necessary, but it's nice. An actual rare instance where a different focus school is really useful. In terms of which Warframe was the most difficult to get this done with, Chroma was a pain in the arse because I wasn't using adaptation for my first few attempts, and then I did die one time with Citrine I believe, but with the builds and the gameplay you can see exactly how I'm doing it. Stay active, keep on rolling using rolling guard and casting your abilities where you can, activate that Vazarin skill, aim for the head with your Incarnate weapon and just lighten them up. Also for elements as well, viral, heat, viral in general just seems to get the job done. And that's how I did it, and I hope you guys find this useful. Remember, it's meant to be quite difficult, so if a lot of you guys are struggling, I understand, I was as well. It is a bit of a pain in the arse, but you have to min-max yourself for this mission. But yeah, best of luck in getting your Accolade Glyphs, I hope this helps. If you found this useful or you like the content, feel free to like and subscribe. Also feel free to check out my previous video on the channel in which we went to a 8-hour level cap solo survival with the Valkyrie rework, proving that she's actually pretty damn good. I appreciate you all for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.